In many of our videos, we voice over the pertinent points. In this one, take the time to watch and consider the movement, approach, angles, and other subtleties as this one unfolds. There's many reasons I do the things I do in this one, all in respecting what this fish will tolerate, married with what I need to do to ensure I hook up and land this nice brown.
That changing light doesn't help.
What I was looking at the whole time is not a fish.
Yeah.
What do you do with this?
Yeah. You get a little movement here of him, because God knows he's going to nymph. He's been moving quite a bit.
In theory, you should get a take from this. Whether or not it sticks is another story. What?
Yeah, hey, exactly. You're going to do dry dropper on him, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, big swing to his right. Huge swing and going home.
Oh wow.
Like way over to the rock.
Funny how this all plays out, eh?
It is.
This is my third fly change and I haven't cast to a fish.
Yep.
Just because
Dynamics of everything.
you
Yep.
think this, then you think that, then you think, oh, and fish move around and then they cruise out and then you change over and then you change again and they cruise around and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what can take a lot of time when you're working literally, two fish in a spot.
Yeah, especially when one just doesn't quite want to settle out.
That's right. Make sure that I've got fish, but I've got a little bit of room
Well, I
above
should be
them
able to
because you're
be
going to go
straight on.
down the foam line.
Yeah, I should be able to go straight on.
Yeah.
Because I can get out directly below him, and he's
Yeah.
got enough overhead. Like that riffle water allows me to cast almost straight upstream.
Yeah, exactly,
Yes.
right? Right above them.
All these.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, no
That's when
kidding,
this
eh?
fish spooks.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Make sure there's nobody else here,
Yeah, no kidding.
You get so focused on that one.
That's right.
Right to him.
Nice.
Yep. Gotta keep from this side of the rocks.
Yep. Yep.
Try not to get rubbed off in the rocks here.
Exactly, hey?
Yeah.
There's enough in there. Oh, yeah.
He was feeding good, eh?
He was feeding good. That was awesome.
It also ends up being bigger than you think too,
Yep, that's right. Yeah, he wants to go back to that rock.
That's always fun.
Yep.
Don't like lifting until he's right at the net.
Yep.
Try to go sideways. You think right there I'd have him?
Yep.
Oh, dry fly in the side. There we go.
Nice.
Long fish.
Beautiful long fish. Just zooming in a bit.
Just gonna give it a bit of water, then I'll hold it back up.
Awesome. Really pretty, hey?
Yeah. Okay. Now the funny thing about this stuff is anytime that you have a broken overhead cover like that, that fish was just holding on a rock, bit of chop overhead, allows you to do a lot more things than you would on flat water. So you can get away with 3X, you can get away with a larger dry with rubber legs, and you can get away with a heavier pluck. So you want to get the fly down quickly or nymph down quickly, use a tungsten bead. That's a perfect spot for a tungsten bead. Cast it straight up above, maybe get your leader a little to the side if the fish are shyer on pressured waters, but in a stream like this, middle of nowhere, nobody around, it's basically just a game of pitch and drift and catch, and hopefully it sticks, and sometimes they do.
You were seriously working slower. I noticed that, you kind of stuck to that one side of the river. And I think it's really important whenever you're on any piece of water and you're starting to dissect it, and especially pieces of water that have different current flows where, you might have a riffle run in one spot, and this is true for a lot of boulder garden type rivers, is that the other area around you might be slower, calmer, flat water, and that what is needed there, and what I noticed you did, is you stuck to that side of the river, and in some cases you're actually staying out of the water as well.
Quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, because you don't want to disrupt. The whole point behind that is you don't want to disrupt any other fish that might be within that same zone, that are either come out from a boulder because they've been tucked underneath and they choose to come out, and if you're in the water, you're gonna that other fish is gonna disrupt the one that you're going for.
And you're shot right before you even start. So if you step here and you spook one from here and it takes off upstream, you're done. For you and for me, we're looking for this fish and that fish. And I'm okay with spooking a couple of smaller fish if I know that I'm gonna find that big fish. And I'm gonna do the things, and where I'm going with this is be methodical to respect those big fish and find those big fish, either rising across the bank or on the pillow of the boulder, or, and you pick off those holding lies and you find that fish. It's either gonna rise, it's gonna swing, it's gonna show a tail, it's gonna show a smudge. And in this case, it was amazing because there actually was another fish in this run. And you heard it in the video, I actually changed my fly 3 times before I took one cast, because there was a fish that was kind of doggo, half-hearted, not feeding at all, and kind of moving along the big boulder across from me. And he actually went upstream and did a cycle, came back down, and then took off and just went back resting. And I had what I started the day with, which I always start the day with a dry and a dropper, different lengths depending on the creek. And I thought, no, he's not going to go with that. I need to go deeper. So I tied on this really long dropper with a big nymph and, like about 2.5 foot. And then that's when he took off. Well, it didn't take off. It's not like that even.
But he disappeared. He was
disappeared.
Nowhere,
gone,
nowhere
right?
You could go for him.
So I was like, okay, I watched him go away. And it was like, he's not coming back. He was off. Dark, doggo, manker. And then we turned around, and now there's that fish at the head. And it was like, okay, so now I have to do a third fly setup. Hadn't taken a cast that day. And that's all part of the methodology of each fish is its own project. You find that fish, what is it doing? How do I have to? What do I need to do? How do I respect that fish? I mentioned that in the video. What do I have to do in respect of that fish? And how do I best feed that fish and get into position to do so without spooking it? And once I set up, I feed the fish. And once you're in that place and you do the setup and you know what you can get away with while respecting it, that fish is already, you're going to get the take. Whether or not the hook sticks, well, there you go.
Absolutely. And I mean, that fish was where he was holding in that riffle, you even saw me talk about it. He moved. The biggest thing that we're doing in that process of actually taking our time and being methodical is really seeing what's going on. Your observing skills are, need to go through the roof in that time frame, because what you do is you end up seeing is, what is the feeding window for this fish?
Bingo.
And that particular fish, as we saw, was willing to move. He liked that one spot, and he was definitive there, and you can see him, but he was willing to move to his right. So I noticed when you went in for your cast, Dave was able to just angle that cast pretty much straight up above him and have that dropper nymph drift down and right into his feeding zone. And I mean, you couldn't have been more in line if you tried.
Yeah.
But the point was, had Dave been slightly to the right, probably not a problem because we had
Yes.
seen that fish. He was willing to move. We knew his feeding window,
What's
but that
the
was because we took the
three-dimensional?
time.
What's the three-dimensional? Everybody thinks, well, what's his feeding window? Well, it's 2 feet left, 2 feet right. No. How far up is he willing to come? In the one scene, you saw that fish come within 10 inches of the surface and then right back to the bottom. So what's his feeding window? It's not this way or that way. It's not just this way or that way, but how big is his globe
Yes.
at that point?
And that's the beauty of also using droppers, because sure, we didn't actually see him rise, but we always have that wonderful hope and expectation too,
Yes.
that there's a chance that a fish is going to take, a dry fly. And with that, we often want to have that on there, right? So that there's a chance, because obviously we love the filming and we love the visuals. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching this. We appreciate all of your comments and your questions as always. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel.
I'll see you next week.